Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unqualified Academy. I know you guys have spent a lot of time applying to get into this very prestigious school, and I'm glad to announce to you all that all of your hard work has finally paid off. Now, I, Cowardly Noodle, here will be your professor. As stated, it is an unqualified academy, so please note that I am grossly unqualified to speak on quite literally anything in this series. However, given that understanding, there are a couple of interesting points I need you all to be aware of before we get started. The first and foremost being, as your professor, it is my job to impart to all of you, my pupils, who have so diligently worked to get into this prestigious academy, absolute, objective, universal truth. Everything I say from this point onward can be taken as literal fact, pure, objective. You can't argue against it. That's just how it is. And I want you all to accept that, because once you do, your lives will get infinitely easier. The second disclaimer is that there may be some homework in some future installments of this. Who knows? But it will be a part of your grade at the end of the term. With that in mind, let's get started. Today's first lesson is going to be on rating musical instruments. Very important. Good to get some culture into all of you guys. It's important to realize which instruments are good and which instruments are not. Let's get started. We're just going to do a blanket overview of all of percussion. We got some pros, we got some cons on there. You notice if they're not there, you want percussion to be in basically every song, but it's rarely used to the point where it could shine. So I didn't actually put a rating on this because there's just too much in this broad category, but it's important and I want you to realize that. Next, here are all the various string instruments I'm going to be covering today. Take notes. First, the violin. It's acceptable. Everyone starts out on this thing. It's pretty overused. It sounds good sometimes. Doesn't really burn that long when you throw it into a fire. So for that, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Pretty basic. You could do more with this. Viola. No one knows the difference between a viola and a violin. It's usually better, depends on how you play it, and it burns for longer, so it gets a 5 out of 10. It's better than the violin, could do worse. Cellos. Cellos are actually good instruments. They sound really nice. Most of their players actually care. It's a good instrument. Sounds great. 9 out of 10. Really nice. Bass. Basses are big. That's basically the most important thing about them. They sound good, they're pretty low, they work really well in jazz, but can also fit in an orchestra. 8 out of 10, pretty basic. Guitar. Way overused, bad instrument, not even good. Do you even try? Let's be real here, this thing is garbage. 2 out of 10. Pianos. Way overused, but they actually sound nice. You can play basically anything. It is the most played instrument in the world, but there is a reason for that. It's pretty good in almost any situation. You can fill out sound, you can play chords and all whatnot. However, you can't crescendo while holding the same note, so get wrecked. 7 out of 10. Average, but there's a reason it's average. Here's our various woodwind instruments. A reminder, you all should be taking notes during this course for the final quiz at the end of the course. Not at the end of this lesson, but at the end of the course. You will see what I mean. Flutes. Important thing to note here, flutes are in the whistle family. They like to pretend they're woodwinds and jump themselves in with that group, but if you notice, literally every single other common woodwind is a reed instrument. You could just call it the reeds and that would work, but no, flutes want to be included because they despise the fact that they are secretly overgrown whistles. Alright? They're springing up like reeds. And weeds. Reeds basically are weeds. We'll get onto that in a bit. But flutes are whistles, okay? Suck it up. They're high pitched, hard to play, annoying. No one likes them. 0 out of 10. Clarinets, really fun in jazz. Sounded great when played correctly. They're pretty classist in the woodwind section. Again, there's generally a lot of these. They kind of spring up like weeds. It's a bit of an issue. 6 out of 10. Pretty good instrument. Oboe. Everything said regarding clarinets, but way better, except in jazz. They don't really sound that good. If you play this instrument, you either love or hate it. Usually the latter. You're also usually a clarinet player who was forced to by a director. It sounds like a duck often. 7 out of 10, slightly better than a clarinet when played correctly. Bassoon. Now this one's where it's at. Alright, this one's tall. What more could you want out of it? It's a beautiful double reed instrument. It's beautiful sound, but no one knows how to write for this thing. If you play this, you hate it. 8 out of 10 for it's a tree trunk. Soprano saxophone. It's a saxophone that wants to go back to being a clarinet. Just pick one, make a decision already. They're the true elitists. They think they're important. Hard to tune, but it sounds good. So let's be real here. 4 out of 10. Just make a decision already. Alto saxophones. Basic saxophone. It's pretty good. Really common. Lots of people play this. It sounds pretty average in every setting it's in. Nothing particularly taking away from it or adding on to it in that respect. 6 out of 10. Tenor saxophone. Now here's where it's at. Way better than alto sax. Great sound. The lower is really nice. You get to play more fun things, and it's basically the instrument of jazz. 8 out of 10. Probably the best woodwind. Bari sax really only fits in jazz, but is used in wind ensembles anyway. Great at maintaining a low woodwind sound, usually a good tone. You can really groove with this thing. It's pretty nice. 7 out of 10 for the funk right there. Here's our brass instruments we're going to get into today. Trumpet. Remember, here I need to remind you that as your professor, it is my job to impart to you, my pupils, absolute objective truth. Keep that in mind. Trumpet is the best instrument. It is perfect in every way. If you play this, you are a flawless person. You have impeccable moral character. You are basically a god. Fits in every setting, determines the style of any song it's in, because everyone just has to match its beautiful playing. And of course, the silver ones are objectively better. 100 out of 10, best instrument. Flugelhorn. It's like a trumpet, way better. Softer tone, conical. You get to play all the best parts. You usually get to do a lot of solos on this thing. It's just super fun. It's a vibe. 101 out of 10. Baritones. Great sound, really fun. If you play this, you like to have fun. You're pretty chill. Really carries the marching band, not gonna lie. 7 out of 10. Euphoniums. Way better than baritone. It's like the flugelhorn compared to trumpet. You play the best parts, get great solos. If you play this, you actually care about what you're playing, unlike the rest of low brass. 10 out of 10, best low brass instrument. Tuba. They're super important, but they never get to do anything good. You usually just play umpa, umpa, umpa all the time. They can be loud, but never are, and most of the people who play these generally don't care as much. 7 out of 10. Let's be real here, we could do better with this one. Trombones are the loudest acoustic instrument. They sound great in every setting. They can do at least one thing no other instrument can do. The slide's pretty great, basically perfect. 10 out of 10 for the wow. Bass trombones. Everything about trombone. Get to play more great stuff, more jazz implications. It's fun to play. You get to play lower. It's pretty great. 9 out of 10, just a vibe. French horns are actually decent instruments. They sound great, but no one knows how to write for these things. People seem to think this looks like a tenor sax. Take note, does this look like a tenor sax? Correct answer, no it does not. It is not a tenor saxophone. Please don't play it like one. There's like a bunch of fingerings for every note. You can use them on the basic valve series, like trumpet players play and whatnot, but there's some inherent tuning issues to that, so it's just kind of weird. They're usually broken in some shape or form. It's actually easier to play all of the ranges and whatnot, and very soft, very delicate. I like it. It's a good instrument. 8 out of 10 for being swirly. Mellophones. They're needed to fill out the sound, but no one wants to play these. If you play this, you likely have unresolved emotional trauma. You're also likely a trumpet player forced into it by your director because, again, everyone hates this instrument. It's bad and not good, and there's a reason for that. 6 out of 10. Here are some extreme variations we're going to be going over today. The piccolo flute. It's even more of a whistle than the regular flute is. It hurts your ears so much, and it's never in tune. Don't even try it. Just give up. Negative 110. Just, it's worse. It is so much worse. It is worse. It is worse. It is worse. It is so much worse. I need you to understand this. This is worse. Okay. Piccolo trumpet. Now this one's great. Hard to tune, but it sounds good. It can be really loud. Screaming octaves above the staff is all you need out of life. Let's be real here. Alright? Extra tuning valve. That's pretty cool. Very small. It actually doesn't make playing higher any easier, but increases some of the ease of like getting it to sound good. But you actually still have to work for your range. It doesn't just give you an octave automatically, which would be nice, but that's not how physics works. 7 out of 10, great but hard to use. Piccolo trombone. It's really cute, but like, why does this exist? Just play trumpet at that point. It's really cool, but it feels weird that this is a thing. 4 out of 10. Sub contrabass flute. Whoever thought these should exist was cast into outer darkness for their sins. It is awful, but kind of better than flute, just because look at that massive thing. It sounds terrible, incredibly unwieldy. It's like super raspy and everything. Flute players already complain about holding up their instruments, and you're gonna give them this thing? 1 out of 10. Don't like that. Contrabass tuba. Look at that thing. That thing is glorious. It is amazing. If you play this, you are a Chad. You get girls. I'm pretty sure you can play low enough to affect other people's breathing. Not sure how that like works with you also playing it, but who knows? Just an absolute unit of an instrument. 10 out of 10 for a bigger tuba. Subcontrabass saxophone. Look at that thing. It's just look at it. Look at I mean look at look at it. Look at it. Look at it. I don't think you're looking at it. Just look at it. It wants to be like the tuba, but it's not. It knows it's failing. It's just got so many shortcomings with it. It wants to be cool. It wants to be part of the gang, but at the end of the day, none of its friends like it, and it's just shunted off to the side. 2 out of 10 for being a fat saxophone. The octabass. This just looks like an affront to God. Did humanity learn nothing from the Tower of Babel? Why does this thing exist? This can't possibly sound good in any context, but it would probably burn for a decent length of time. 9 out of 11, this is actually a war crime. Pipe organs, heck yeah. If I was a rich, evil baron, I'd totally have one of these installed in my secret mansion. Really great, really loud. The old ones used to be louder than the cities they were built in. It's great, 10 out of 10 for being an evil villain. Now here are our last 4 instruments I'm going to cover today. These are important to... You'll understand. The jazzophone. This is the best instrument. Perfect in every way. It was quite literally built for jazz. I mean, just look at the thing. It's a trumpet with 2 bells bent in the shape of a saxophone. One of them's got a mute installed. That's pretty great. 100,000 out of 10. This is God's actual greatest creation. Man is number 2. Tenor valve cavalry trombone. Yes, people rode horses while playing these. No, I don't know how. If I saw someone playing this, I would absolutely obey anything they said. They're just clearly better than I am. Truly an instrument of raw, untempered power. Look at that thing, alright? 13 out of 10. You could make engine noises on a horse back in 1895. The Chalme looks like a brass instrument, but is actually a precursor to the oboe. It looks like a trumpet sneeze. There's one bell per every note. That is awful. It is an abomination. It fixes some tuning issues inherent to these instruments, but it creates a whole host of other problems. Look at that thing. It is awful. It is an abomination. Negative 10 quintillion out of 10. What is that? And last, but certainly not least, the mim. If you play this, you are truly a god amongst men. It's a trombone with 6 valves and 7 bells. Look at that thing. Again, it fixes the tuning issue inherent to these instruments, but no one knows what this thing is called. I tried looking for a half hour, and the closest I could find was an entry on a deleted French library website. I don't know what this thing is. No one else does either. 11 out of 10. It's pretty beautiful. Alright, that's going to be the end of class today. I'll hopefully come back to you guys next week with another lesson. We're going to start getting into some really interesting things. Now, again, hopefully you've taken notes because it will be important at the end of the course. I'll see you all next week. Class dismissed.